Hey guys and welcome! So, in today's video I want to talk about why I'm personally incredibly worried about the Battlefield 5. But why would I be worried? Aren't they making the game better? Aren't they delaying it to properly introduce all of the new things into it and make sure they are working before they release it? Well, they are, and by them I mean DICE and EA. But on the other side, and that being the customer side, I'm seeing tons of backlash from the players who actually played the game. And it's not really optimistic. Don't get me wrong here. I want Battlefield 5 to succeed. I like Battlefield 5. I need the game to succeed because I want to grow with my YouTube. And I'm not gonna do it if the game is gonna die in 2 months. That's gonna be a disaster for me. So I kind of need the game to succeed in order for me to succeed. But I'm kind of worried about it, because there is tons of players who dislike the game for what it is. Not for the glitches, not for the bugs, not for the no historical accuracy or however you want to define it, but for the actual gameplay. Because here is the thing. Majority of players playing Battlefield 5 right now, at least I assume so, and it's not confirmed by any statistics, are the players who previously played Battlefield 1. At least majority of them did. So, here is the thing now. Battlefield 1 was an incredibly casual game compared to other games in the franchise. Now, is it a bad thing? No, it's not. DICE decided to make an easy game, accessible for everyone and, most importantly, fun. Well, some people liked it, some didn't. I was in the second group for the most part. I didn't really enjoy Battlefield 1 that much, even though I was still recording the game and I practically created my whole YouTube channel on Battlefield 1. I wasn't a really big fan of the game compared to how I felt about Battlefield 3, for example. But that's not really the point. My personal opinion about the game isn't really relevant in this discussion because we are talking about the wide crowd, the whole player base. And that this player base seems to be disliking Battlefield 5 for what it is in the core gameplay. And I have to admit, I understand it. Because, let's suppose, majority of players who are playing Battlefield 5 right now came to the franchise with Battlefield 1. Battlefield 1 was a very easy game. There is no denying that. Learning curve was, well, pretty much non-existent, and compared to Battlefield 5, Battlefield 1 was incredibly easy to get into, pick up the game and start playing it. Battlefield 5 is a lot more complicated, takes a lot more time and effort to actually learn the game mechanics and understand them. Now, don't get me wrong here. I'm not trying to say that players who came to the franchise with Battlefield 1 are incapable of learning the new mechanics in Battlefield 5. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that if they came to the franchise with Battlefield 1, they accept something similar from the next game. And they are getting something completely different. All of those people who say that Battlefield 5 is like Battlefield 1.5, I'm sorry, it's not. The whole core gameplay was redesigned and the game is completely different. We can easily go as far as saying that Battlefield 5 is a very difficult game compared to Battlefield 1. And I mean it for a normal player, not someone who spent their whole life playing video games because, yes, obviously, it's not gonna be that much of a challenge for such person, but majority of the player base doesn't spend 90% of their time playing video games. And that's the whole point. I will admit here that Battlefield 5, in my not so humble opinion, is the hardest Battlefield game I've ever played. And I started playing in 2012 with Battlefield 3, so I've played Battlefield 3, then Battlefield 4, then Battlefield Hardline, then Battlefield 1, throughout the whole life cycles of course, and then I came to Battlefield 5. I admit, the game is hard, it's really not easy. And now, imagine if you're not, because if you started playing with Battlefield 1, it's basically your perspective right now. You started playing with Battlefield 1, you get relatively uncomplicated game with fun mechanics, somewhat an arcade shooter based in World War I, and then you get Battlefield 5, which is probably the hardest Battlefield game to play, and at the same time something completely different than what Battlefield 1 is in the core gameplay, and then DICE expects customers to like the game. Of course, some players will like the game, but will everyone like it? Definitely not, and we can already see those issues on the forums, on Reddits, on Twitter. Now, I personally don't know how to feel about it, because I like Battlefield 5, but I understand that the whole philosophy behind Battlefield 1 being so easy and then Battlefield 5 being so hard is, I don't know, I'd say it's quite confusing, because there is no adaptation process. There is no making Battlefield 5 being like semi-hard or something a bit harder and more challenging than Battlefield 1, then creating the next game, which is supposedly titled Bad Company 3 from what I've heard in the leaks and rumors and all of the stuff, making this game a bit more harder, and then maybe in 4 years introducing a hardcore game like Battlefield 5 with all of the new recoil patterns, no health regeneration, attrition system with low ammunition, forced squad play with the whole revive animations, like all of this. It actually makes the game a lot harder to play for a player who doesn't want a hard game to play. I don't know if it makes sense, but that's basically what it is. Again, don't misunderstand me here. By no means. I'm not trying to disrespect anyone who joined the Battlefield franchise with Battlefield 1. Let's make it clear. You guys are important. You are creating the community around Battlefield 5. We are all one community. That's not the point to point out someone. That's not the point to point out someone, yeah. Great grammatics. It's not the point to, Jesus, point out someone and say they can't enjoy Battlefield 5 because they came to the franchise with Battlefield 1. No, that's not the point. The point is, Battlefield 5 is just something that Battlefield 1 players didn't really expect from the franchise. Because they didn't play previous games. They didn't know how those worked, and clearly didn't expect the next game to be harder than the previous games that they didn't even play. Honestly, even I didn't expect Battlefield 5 to be so hard. Because before the game launched and I was actually able to get hands-on with the game at EA Play, I didn't think it will be that advanced. I thought it's going to be somewhere around Battlefield 3, or maybe mix of Battlefield 1 with Battlefield 4, and they gave us something much more advanced and much harder. Now, the question is, how will the player base react to it? Because, again, you can have a great product, but if customers don't like it for what it is, even though it's great, they're not gonna stick around. They're not even going to buy the product itself in the first place. And that's what I'm worried about with Battlefield 5. Again, I want the game to succeed, I kind of need the game to succeed, but I'm quite worried lately, seeing how the community reacts to the beta and what they're saying. Anyway guys, that would be it for this video, but before you click off, make sure to let me know down in the comments what do you think about Battlefield 5. Will the game succeed, or maybe it will not, in your opinion? As always, if you enjoyed, remember to leave a like, subscribe, and I see you on the battlefield.